Welcome back to Ramblings. I am Kirk Wilson, Mayor Kirk Wilson, retired. Enjoy the opportunity to meet with you once a week. And speaking of that, I apologize we didn't get to one together for last week. But what we're going to do is go back to 2 weeks ago. We were doing and talking about pet peeves, and everybody has their pet peeves. And at that time, we also talked about how sometimes pet peeves can get you really riled up, make you angry. And we went through a list of things you can do to try to calm down. Well, this week we're going to continue with that list of pet peeves. We had fun with it. I think you probably enjoyed it as well. So let's start with some of the things that cause pet peeves. And one of those is the way people park. Nothing upsets people more than the way you go into a parking lot and there's the guy that takes up 2 spaces. Or you go into a parking lot and you've got this big tractor trailer that's taking up 10 spaces. But parking downtown, people that can't park, they tried to parallel park and you got traffic all backed up. But parking is one of the things, and we could probably keep going on in that area, the way people park. Oh, there's another thing. The law says that you're supposed to park in the same direction you're traveling, but a lot of people park against traffic, and that can be confusing, and it's also technically against the vehicle code. It used to be enforced rather strictly in Carlisle, but not anymore. That seems to have gone by the wayside, so now you can't be certain by looking at a vehicle whether you're going the right way or the wrong way on a street. Also, traffic congestion. We all hate traffic congestion. Sometimes it's the person who's double parked talking to a neighbor in the neighborhood. Really gets on people's nerves. Traffic congestion is perhaps I want a car, the light changes red, traffic's backed up, and guess what? They're in the middle of an intersection. They've got it blocked, so the cross traffic can't go through. If you're alert and you realize that you may be in an intersection, stay back. And that way, when the light changes red for you, green the other way, the other ones can travel. Keep that in mind. No use getting people upset needlessly because you're not paying attention. Pedestrians and crosswalks. Now, that is a real touchy situation, especially in Carlisle. You read about it often in letters to the editors. You're here at a coffee shop, people talking about it. Forgive me, students at Dickinson College, but sometimes when you come to that crosswalk, the law says to a motorist, yield to a pedestrian in a crosswalk. But what it does not say is you, the pedestrian, just step right into the crosswalk. You have a responsibility as well. You need to stop, look left and right. If there is not a vehicle coming, then you can proceed into the crosswalk. And then if a vehicle approaches, it's that vehicle's responsibility to stop. But unfortunately, you come to town with an attitude that says, that's my crosswalk, and I'm going to step right out in it, and I don't care if there's a car only 15 yards away. You better stop. And that's not right, and that is something that will really raise the hair on the back of drivers' necks. And sometimes then you just keep coming and coming and coming, and traffic gets backed up, and that gets us back to the whole idea of traffic congestion. But I know people get really angry. It's a major pet peeve when we have people crossing. And there are mid-block crosswalks, mostly around the college. And once again, we have the students who decide, I'm not going to look. They just sit there with their text, and they just step right off the curb, and they go right across the street, and they sometimes don't even look. And then for some reason or another, they seem to walk very, very slowly. So it takes them even longer, and that just makes things even worse. So think about it as a pedestrian when you come to a crosswalk. Think about it. Realize the law says that a vehicle will yield to a pedestrian, but the pedestrian also has a right to yield to the vehicle before it gets there. Now, this goes back to my years as an elected official, and I'll be brief about this. Many items are discussed and are debated months, weeks before an issue is actually voted upon. And what would really, grind my nerves would be, I won't even name an issue, but we might discuss it and debate it for 3 or 4 meetings in a row. It comes up for a vote, and all of a sudden, 50 people show up saying, well, we just heard about this and we're opposed to it, or we don't like it, or, and granted, as elected officials, we're there, we have to give you our time. But as a good citizen, keep on touch of what's happening. Follow the newspaper. Go online. You have an idea what's happening. Get involved in the process early. The earlier you get involved with an issue, the better your chances of having input and perhaps making a change that not only is what you want, but it will also perhaps even make the ordinance or the change in a policy or procedure even better. So I'd like to suggest that don't wait till the last minute. Become a part of the process early on and move forward. Now, this next one, I think, is almost as, perhaps even more so, controversial than the students crossing the street, and that's bicyclists, and I'm specifically referring to adult bicyclists. It's not too bad, but the law says we're supposed to share the road with bicyclists, and it just seems to me that as individual bicyclists, maybe even two bicyclists, that's not too bad. But when they get their clubs together or they get their group together, they're kind of like a moving, vicious animal. They forget the fact that you've got to follow the road. When you're traveling and you come upon a group of them and they're spread out 5 wide, and there might be 10 or 15 of them long, that's very frustrating. And you know what? They're not obeying the law, but they don't care. But try to pass them, and all of a sudden they start yelling, "You got to give me 4 feet. You got to give me 4 feet." And it causes, first of all, it's unsafe. Secondly, they're not setting a good example for other bicyclists. And the other thing that they seem to do when they get, and this is also individuals, they forget that they have to obey stop signs. Just because they're 2 wheels, they don't have the right to go through it. Same with traffic lights. They're supposed to stop when the light is red. Too many bicyclists just zip right through. Others, they go from the sidewalk to the street to the sidewalk to the street. The law actually says that you're not supposed to ride your bicycle on the sidewalk. That's preserved for people on foot. But a lot of people, and there have been incidents where people riding bicycles have run over people walking on the sidewalk. So with all of that in mind, please remember, as a bicyclist, you have a responsibility to stop at stop signs, stop at traffic lights. Bike lanes, well, we have some in Carlisle that are specifically designated in the downtown area. I'm not sure whether they're a good thing or a bad thing. I personally feel that there is not enough room for bike lanes downtown, and that you would be better off, if you're going to use your bike for transportation purposes, to use the side streets and stay off of the Hanover streets and the high streets and those sorts of things. And another thing that bicyclists are most known for is riding against traffic. And basically what I'm saying is, you're coming at me. If I'm going north, you're coming south in the northbound lanes. That's very unsafe, but bicyclists seem to do it. And the other thing you like to do, you like to ride the wrong way on a one-way street. Likewise, if we did that in the car, we would obviously be given a traffic citation for doing that. So what I'm asking is that bicyclists, I'm not going to say that all motorists are hard to be with bicyclists, but I'm also going to say that bicyclists sometimes can be extremely difficult for motorists to deal with. So we'll wrap it up there. In the coming weeks, we're going to have, we plan to invite newly elected officials with the upcoming election. We'll bring those on who are newly elected, and then when you have had an opportunity to hear what they have to say, we'll bring on those who were re-elected. So again, thank you for joining me, Mayor Kirk Wilson, retired. Please join us again here on Cumberland Valley TV.